2020 marks the 20th season of the Kansas Speedway on the Cup Series schedule. And with that, and the fact that it's a playoff race, I want to look back today and see some of the great moments in the Kansas Speedway's history, because this track gets a bad rep. It's been a pretty decent to great track since its beginning, and I just want to bring forth the fact that it's a fun track to go to. I, honest to God, look forward to Kansas races nowadays. So, let's look back. Well, initially, Jeff Gordon swept the first two races in 2001-2002, which was kind of par for the course at the time. Jeff Gordon was just dominant in the late 90s and into the 2000s. But it doesn't really start to spice up at Kansas until 2004. In 2004, the chase was everything. Chasers, chasers, chasers everywhere. You couldn't turn around without looking at something about the chase for the Nextel Cup. But at the finish of the Kansas race in 2004, the chasers needed to be taken down a peg. And the finish, a great finish mind you, was settled between non-chasers. They didn't have a chance at the championship, but they did have a chance that day at Kansas Glory.
Just the opposite of the situation Nemechek was in yesterday. He was coming.
Whoa, Joe drives it down in really hard into turn 3. See if he can hold it. If he's got to get on the gas. He picks up the gas pretty good.
Coming out of turn 4. White flag this time.
Yeah, this is good stuff right here. Man, it is.
Mile and a half to go.
Now watch Joe. Joe should be able to drive it way in deep here. If the car doesn't slide up the racetrack too much, he'll be able to hold it and then run side by side down the backstretch.
Joe Nemechek's story is well known. Lost his brother John in a Craftsman truck racing accident in Homestead when Joe was competing in Las Vegas. His family encouraged him to continue racing.
Oh, here comes Rudd. He's got to run, but Nemechek will mirror block him now.
Rudd is a veteran to the apron, but it's Nemechek with the win at Kansas.
The theme of non-chasers just keeps going into 2006. Yes, the chasers ran up front. There were plenty of them all through the day. You can go back and watch that race. It was chasers in the top 5 all day. But there was one guy, defending champion Tony Stewart, who wanted to spoil the party. And he would, by stretching his fuel.
And Stewart's got a 17-second lead on Casey Mears, who runs second right now.
And Mark Martin runs third. From a car he said was terrible early in the race, now third. Can he get to the finish? We work the final lap.
So
Stewart down the backstretch.
He looks like he's out of fuel.
Should be quite a few more of them running out.
Stewart's out.
Can he coast around in time? Had that 17-second lead. Casey Mears is the second place car. Stewart slow through turn 4. Trying to reach the finish line.
It looks like Casey Mears is out of fuel now.
Casey Mears slow in turn 3. Tony Stewart's going to take the checker flag and coast across the finish line and win.
That's unbelievable.
If you watch Kansas races nowadays, you know that the track has lights. But back in the early 2000s, it didn't. Actually, a lot of tracks didn't have lights now that I think back on it. But anyway, this usually didn't come into effect at Kansas because they usually had some pretty good weather and everything sort of went right. But in 2007, things did not go right. And we had probably the most controversial race in Kansas history. So, starting off, there was always rain in the area all through the day, raining at different points of the race, stopping and going, and it just kept postponing the race further and further and further into the day. NASCAR didn't want to call it early by any stretch of the imagination, simply because this was a chase race, and they wanted to see if they could get it as far as possible. On top of this, you also have the fact that new broadcast partner ABC and ESPN that were one team, they didn't exactly have the greatest amount of respect for NASCAR. NASCAR was more of just a means to an end when it came to this new popular thing that we needed to get a hold of, at least by their perspective. So with this happening, NASCAR was trying to end the race at an earlier time and cut laps off of it due to daylight hours and the fact that ESPN was probably pushing them to do it. The race itself got moved all over the place, so if you think that NBC moving NASCAR races is a new thing, you're wrong. But they had to continue to shorten it until the end. And you'd think that would be it, but the controversy doesn't end there.
Set was 7:06 local time, and that was just minutes ago, so they had promised these guys they would not make them put them in any kind of harm's way by making them run in the dark. And so when he comes by to take lap 210, he will get the checkered flag.
Looking out the window right now, Jerry, the black asphalt on the racetrack would hide anything if there was debris out there. Everything looks very dark looking from a driver's perspective. So congratulations to Greg Biffle, huh?
Looks like the Aflac Duck's going to get a checker here.
Greg Biffle, 37-year-old driver, had gone 28 races. His last win was at Homestead at the end of finale of 2006.
Flag, buddy, right there. Checker flag.
Jerry, it's very interesting coming to the start-finish line the last time, though. I know you and the 07 were sort of interested in whether or not the 16 might be the victor.
Yeah, he was clearly out of gas. I feel terrible for Greg. He's been working so hard to win a race, and is they're in position to win it. But if you don't maintain pace car speed, you don't hold your position. And it was clear to everyone that he couldn't do it. If he could have, he would have stayed on the bumper of the pace car to the finish line. So, in my opinion, where he coasted across the finish line relative to the other cars that can maintain pit road speed is where he should finish.
All right, anyone who's played a NASCAR game at some point has just dive-bombed into the corner, full throttle, not caring for any of the AI around you, seeing if you can make it. You bounce it off the wall, you just wall pop all the way around, get the lead, get the win, you're the big hero of the day. Well, nobody had really tried this in real life. Well, until Carl Edwards did with Jimmy Johnson in 2008. It didn't exactly have the same results that we have in the games.
Get him right here. Here he comes, digging up off the corner, turn 2, half a lap away from the checkered flag.
And what's Jimmy Johnson do here? He goes to that high side. Carl Edwards is going to go to the bottom. There we go.
Oh,
Drove right by him. With the car stick. Here comes Jimmy Johnson. He's in the wall.
Can he get it off the wall?
We're back inside now.
Oh, wow.
Carl Edwards trying to hang on. Here comes Jimmy Johnson down, and Johnson will take the win. Wow.
How good is that?
A lot of times races are defined by the finish, by who wins, by the manufacturer, the sponsor, whoever. Just there's something that we point to when it comes to the winner and the finish of the race, and we say that is what we remember it for. But 2010, that really didn't happen. Greg Biffle won the race, but I would probably bet that most of you didn't know that. But if you look back on that season, you might actually remember the race, simply for the feud between David Rudiman and Kyle Busch.
Yeah, it looked like Rudiman got out of the throttle just a little bit, kind of feathering it. It sure looks like turn 2 right here. Yep. Rudiman got the worst of it, but Kyle did get some damage on that left rear.
Car is destroyed. My steering wheel knocked a quarter of the turn off. He bent the rear end housing, he bent the truck arm, he bent everything.
The 2011 Spring Kansas race is one that was really fun. It really kind of defined how 2011 was. Before the race, Kyle Busch and Richard Childress actually got into a bit of a spat, to the point that Childress had his grandson hold his watch while he absolutely beat the living crap out of Kyle Busch. Then, the race happened. Yeah, there were comers and goers throughout the day, people who dominated, but it became a fuel mileage race. And this young guy by the name of Brad Keselowski, well, he was in the lead, and tracking him down was NASCAR's most popular driver, Dale Jr. Well, Keselowski really didn't have too much in the form of success in 2011 at that point.
White flag. Do you have enough fumes to get to the finish line?
Well, he's got enough lead. Doesn't have to worry about that.
3.5, 3.4, 3.3, 3.2.
Guy looks like
Earnhardt's coming.
He looks like he's crawling there. I swear he's not going very fast at all.
3 seconds.
If he can get in here, and if he can get this thing headed toward the start-finish line.
Half a lap, half a mile to go. 2.9.
You can coast from there. You can shut it off and coast.
2.8. Brad Keselowski survives and wins in Kansas.
We finally caught a break, Paul.
Final race on the old pavement and old configurement was one that people remember. Martin Truex Jr. at that time only had one career victory to his name. Yeah, it's hard to believe for a lot of you now that Truex at one point was the underdog. Well, he led a ton of the day at Kansas, but the sun came out late, changing the handling on his car. Denny Hamlin got by. But Truex, ever determined to finally break his streak, would not give up so easily.
Boy, this is a nail biter right here. They're going to be bumper to bumper on the white flag.
Truex dives to the bottom. Hamlin up top.
It's a bonsai.
It was a dive bomb move. And it gets Truex. Whoa, he's sideways. He was within a car length. 3 back. Here goes Truex again. He's going to try it. Right down to the bottom. They're almost even. He slides up a car length back, and that's all he's got. Denny Hamlin gets his 19th career Sprint Cup win.
When tracks get reconfigured, a lot of times they end up way worse than before. Just look at how crappy Kentucky and Texas are. But Kansas, on the other hand, only got better, which is really surprising. Well, the first race in the new configurement was an absolute cluster. Well, you know what. It was a crash fest, a crapshoot, just anything you can describe in that vein, it was. And that's really just how it happened the whole day. There were tons and tons of crashes throughout the day. And they really affected the championship that year in a lot of ways. In 2013, the Gen 6 car had been put into full effect in competition in the Cup Series. At Las Vegas that year, Matt Kenseth, on his birthday no less, edged out Kasey Kahne for the victory. Well, a few weeks later at Kansas, the exact same driver duo was actually going for the win again.
Over yet, though, boys. McMurray may not be a factor. He's probably far enough ahead as they roll turn number 2.
Okay, Larry, what happened that time is Matt moved up the hill, got a nice run off of turn 2, opened up the distance between he and Kahne. I think he can hold him off from here.
That's Tony Stewart, who pulls down to the inside, out of the way, not wanting to affect the outcome of this one. Kahne coming on the bottom, sweeps up high. He's got a chance to dive down low, but Matt Kenseth.
In 2015, Kenseth was once again driving for the win, but he wasn't the guy who was chasing. He was being chased by Joey Logano.
Comes the 22. He's closed the gap all over the back bumper now as they've caught this slower traffic. And around goes the 20, sideways in front of the 22. Kansas slides. Caution comes out.
In an instant, a feud was lit and kindled. Joey Logano was about to change the course of his season and in a lot of ways his career with the move he made for the win. In 2019, NASCAR introduced a new Aero Package for the mile-and-a-half tracks and really in general. It was a low horsepower, high downforce package. Well, in a lot of tracks, it didn't work and it absolutely sucked. But at Kansas, under the lights, it actually produced one of the greatest races in Gen 6 history. It's surprising. Normal conventional thinking would tell you that a cooler track under the lights would be a one-groove track. But instead, it became a multi-groove track with this new Aero Package. Alex Bowman was looking to get his first win with it and capitalize. Brad Keselowski had other options. While I know that there's other great Kansas moments that I'm probably not listing here, I just really wanted to list the ones that stand out to me. And if there are ones that I missed, let me know down in the comments below. Listen, I just wanted to show people the great moments that really stand out in my memory of this track. Going to it before, I just got to say, I appreciate it so much more now. The racing's great, the environment's great, and the track itself is really up to date. So let me know what you think about the Kansas Speedway in the comments below. And while you're at it, leave a like on this video and subscribe to my channel for more great NASCAR content. And until next time, have a good one.